Hello to everyone who is joining. Welcome to our webinar today, 10 Costly Mistakes That Hurt Your Golf Fundraiser and How to Fix Them Fast. We are going to get started right at the top of the hour. If you are joining us, let us know where you're joining us from, and you can include that in the chat box. Drop a hello in there. Let us know your organization. We'd love to see who we have on today. We will get started shortly. Thank you. All right, we have a lot of great folks on today, Jay. We have some people from humane societies, boys and girls clubs.
Great.
Children and family, home and services. Awesome. If you are just joining us, welcome to 10 Costly Mistakes That Hurt Your Golf Fundraiser and How to Fix Them Fast. We will be getting started right at the top of the hour, but if you want to go ahead and join those in the chat who are letting us know their name and where they are joining us from, that would be great, just so we can see who we have on, the different kinds of organizations, so we can make sure we give you ideas that fit, your specific organization. If you can't locate the chat box, it's on the bottom of your screen. It looks like two little text message bubbles that say chat, and you can just go ahead and utilize that. This is an interactive session, so if during the webinar you do have any questions, you can always use the chat box to put your questions in there, and we'll make sure we get them answered. Or you can use the Q&A feature, which makes it a little bit easier to make sure we get to your question because it pulls it out from the side. So if you want to utilize that Q&A feature, that is what is easiest for us. But we will make sure to answer both Q&A and chat questions that come in. The session will be recorded today, so you're going to get a video recording of the entire session, as well as a copy of the PowerPoint deck. So you can share this with your team, come back, utilize it, at your convenience, watch it again. All right, well, we are at the top of the hour, so we're going to go ahead and get started. As I mentioned, we are recording today's session, so I'm going to go ahead and get a clean recording for you all. Welcome to 10 Costly Mistakes That Hurt Your Golf Fundraiser and How to Fix Them Fast. To go over the agenda for today, we're going to start by introducing our featured speaker. We're then going to go and hear from the audience, so ask some poll questions. We're going to talk about what those 10 costly mistakes are that are hurting your golf fundraiser that you may not even be aware, that are affecting your revenue. And then we're going to talk a little bit about utilizing technology for your event, because a lot of these mistakes are tied to the technology that you're using. And then we're going to get some questions and answers. If you do have questions and answers during the session, please utilize the Q&A feature on the bottom of your screen to submit those, and we will make sure that we answer everyone's questions that while we're on the session or after the session if we go over. All right, so to introduce our panel, we have Jay Fisk, who is the Chief Auctioneer and Co-President of Ariva's Auction Software Division. How are you today, Jay?
I am great, and I'm looking forward to another one of our wonderful webinars.
Me too. All right, and I'm Gabriella Salemi. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Ariva, and I'll be moderating today's session. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. First thing we would like to know from you is, do you have a golf fundraiser in your plans? Some of you, if you're here, you might have a golf fundraiser coming up, which is great for us to know about. Maybe you've never hosted a golf fundraiser. Maybe you have done one, but you don't have one scheduled for this year. And maybe you used to host a golf fundraiser, but not anymore. Maybe you had some challenges, and we hope we can figure out, how to solve some of those challenges you might have been facing in the past. All right, so looking at the room, 86% of you have a golf fundraiser that is planned and it's coming up. Some of you, 12%, you would like to host one but don't have one scheduled yet. And some of you have never hosted one before, which is great because we're going to cover all different areas here. Next question. Does your golf fundraiser include a live or silent auction? Um, maybe you host a live auction only, silent auction only. Maybe you do both, or maybe it does not include it at all. And we're going to have some tidbits for how you can actually include that auction seamlessly into your day of the event a little later, which will be interesting to see. All right, so let's go ahead. We have a lot of answers pouring in, but I'll show these results. Okay, so it seems the majority of you, 44%, are hosting a silent auction. 27% of you host both a live and silent auction. 25% do not host an auction at all. And then 4% of you host just a live auction, which is really interesting to see. That's great for us.
Yep.
Last question I'm going to ask you before I pass this over to Jay. And this question, you can select multiple. So you can select all of these or a few of these or one. What is your biggest challenge around your fundraising event? So is it getting people to attend? Is it finding auction items? Check in and check out. We just did a great session a few weeks ago on how to streamline check in and check out. So if you would like a copy of that, let us know and we can get that over to you. Lighting, sound, and staging, maybe having enough volunteers at your event, not enough raised through your events, spending too much time for how much you raise, keeping your event on schedule, or maybe it's accessing the Wi-Fi. Maybe your software is Wi-Fi dependent, which causes a lot of trouble, especially depending on where your event is. If it's on a golf course, you might not have the best Wi-Fi. All right, so give a few more seconds. Some answers are still coming in. Okay, and let's go ahead and look at these. So the majority of you, 49%, said it's getting people to attend your events. 46% said finding auction items, check in and check out, 18%. 44% of you said you're not raising enough through your events. 30% said spending too much time for how much you raise. Few of you are having trouble keeping events on schedule, having Wi-Fi troubles, lighting, sound, and staging. It's interesting to see.
Can you scroll that down a little bit because we're not seeing the lighting, sound, and
You have to scroll it on your screen,
it's on mine.
unfortunately.
I just learned something. Okay. So, all right.
Zoom, gotta love it.
Yep. Okay, I'm good.
Okay. All right, well, I'll pass this over to Jay here, who's gonna walk us through some of these mistakes. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, thank you, Gabby. And first of all, I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy day today. Give us an hour of your time. I hopefully are going to find it worthwhile. I think you will. I certainly plan on covering a few tidbits in there that I think that'll relate to everybody. There's a big cross section here, but you'll all pull something of value out of it. Just by way of quick introduction, I've been a benefit auctioneer for 35 years. And throughout those 35 years, I have lost count how many hundreds of golf tournaments I've ended up working. In fact, I've been accused of by people close to me and my family saying if it wasn't for golf tournaments, I would have no wardrobe. Because I went through many years of 15, 20, 25 golf tournaments a year. And so I've kind of experienced the good, the bad, and the ugly of golf tournaments. And over those 35 years, I've accumulated some things that we've broken down into 10 areas here, which are sort of the 10 costly mistakes that hurt golf fundraising. And I'm going to share, I've experienced all of these, both on the bad side as well as improving them on the good side. So hopefully my 35 years of experience will help you either avoid, or maybe you'll see something here that'll help you add in that'll help you make more money. So let's go on to the next one. So mistake number one, not giving golfers what they really want. Golfers are, unique bunch. They want to have fun. It's all about the reason they play golf. Even though a lot of golf is agony, the missed shot, that sort of thing. They want to have fun. So what you want to do is give them a day where they're going to have fun. They want to anticipate it's going to be fun. So let's start talking about that a little bit. Give them a compelling reason why they want to attend your tournament versus a different tournament or not attending a tournament at all. What is it that they're going to get out of it that at the end of the day, they're going to say, oh, wow, I'm really glad I did that. Now, maybe the compelling reason is that they care about your cause, your mission. why you're raising money. Maybe it's because they just want to play golf at that particular golf course. They wouldn't be able to play it otherwise, but there's got to be a reason why they sign up to play. And then who do you want to attend that? Do you want just people that like to play golf, or do you want people to attend that are going to help you raise money for your mission? If you can find golfers that happen to care about your mission, you're going to be that much better off than just people that simply want to play golf. The selection of the golf course is really important. A public golf course, by nature of being a public golf course, is accessible to anybody that wants to play golf. So if I want to sign up for a tournament and they're going to be playing that tournament at a public golf course, I will evaluate what's it going to cost me to play in the tournament versus what does it cost me to play the course anytime anyway and not be part of the tournament. But if that course happens to be an exclusive private country club, or it's a course that is particularly challenging, and it's one that I would normally not play, but by signing up to play in the tournament, it gives me access to that course, that might be a more compelling reason for me to join your tournament, because I would not be able to play that course otherwise, unless I knew somebody who maybe was a member there or something along those lines. Then I also expect to be pampered a little bit on the course. If I pay good money to play in your tournament, by gosh, I want to make sure you're going to feed me. And I don't necessarily want a brown bag with a salami sandwich in it. I'm looking for you to, treat me a little bit like I'm privileged, because after all, I've signed up to play in your tournament. So think about what do you serve me on the course? I'll tell you, one of the most frustrating things I've seen in golf tournaments is golfers out on the course. It's hot, they're actively working, and they have to go 4, 5, 6, 7 holes before a beverage cart comes around, or before they find a cooler, that even has bottles of water in it or something like that. So it's a little thing. You can take care of them, put a whole bunch of coolers out there, make sure that everybody is well lubricated with water or sodas or beers, whatever you wish to do. So what else do they want? They want a fun day with no hassles. They want to get in quickly at the end of the night. When they're ready to leave, they want to be able to leave. Hopefully you'll have a compelling reason for them not leave as soon as the round is over. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But they want to be able to get their clubs out of their car and get into it. And so I'm going to recommend that you have a bag drop area. You don't particularly want to start the day by people having to haul their clubs from a distant parking lot all the way up to where the check-in area is. Have people greet them in the parking lot, take their clubs right out of their trunk, put a tag on it, and tell them to go check in, and let them walk from their car without the bag, and let your volunteers handle the bag for them. We're going to talk about super tickets in a little bit. They want a great course to play. They want to play a course that is something they can brag to their friends. It's about bragging. Hey, guess what I did last weekend? I got to play, or last Monday or Thursday, whatever the turn was. I got to play this super course, and of course they'll post it on Facebook and their other social media, and they'll brag about it. They want a course that challenges them. Real golfers want to play real golf. They don't particularly want to have a tournament that's set up like it might as well be a miniature golf course, with clowns' faces and windmills and all that kind of stuff. I'm kind of using that tongue in cheek a little bit, but you can put too many doodads into it. And I will explain the doodads here in a little bit. But the golfers want to play golf. Especially if it's a course that they would normally not have access to. If they're going to play a course they would normally not have access to, they want to be able to challenge themselves and actually play real golf. And so that's it. Just keep that in the back of your mind. They want a speedy round. Nothing will kill the enjoyment of a round than having artificially created delays. A golfer doesn't want to play a 6-hour round. Trust me, there's nothing fun about a 6-hour round. You want a good, crisp 4-hour, 4.5-hour round. So be cognizant of that, and don't put a lot of reasons into the course that are going to slow people down. Let them play golf in a relatively normal pace. They want to play real golf. When I say strings and scissors, I don't know if you've experienced this. Maybe your tournament does this. Maybe you've seen it at other tournaments, but it's like, oh, well, you can buy a yard of string and a scissor, for $20. And if your ball is within 6 inches of the hole, you can cut off 6 inches of string, and consider that the ball was in the hole, kind of a thing. That becomes a little weird for people. It's like, oh, come on now. If it's 6 inches from the hole, I want to putt it. It's another stroke. That's the way it ought to be. But there are other ways to make money instead of the strings and scissors. It also slows things down. It artificially slows down play because people have to say, well, gee, we have 12 inches of string left. Should we save it for the tough hole coming up, or should we use the 12 inches of string now or 6-inch string now? And they have to make all those decisions, and your team has to vote on which way to do it. And it just slows things down. So don't put doodads in that are going to slow down play. Have some nice tee prizes. When someone shows up, if they pay good money to play in your tournament, hand them something right at registration that really pops for them. The traditional thing is, well, a sleeve of golf balls, a T-shirt, a hat. Think of something unique that'll cause people to say, "Wow, this is different than most tournaments." And again, we probably don't have time today to get into what would those be, but by the way, we have some of these ideas in our golf guide. So I'm going to pause just a second and tell you that we have the golf guide, which is available to you. We're going to put the link to the golf guide in the chat. It may already be there, but take a look in the chat and download our golf guide. A lot of these tips are already in there. But have a photo of the team. They want to remember the day. You should have a photographer out there taking a really professional picture of the team. And here's a little fundraiser for you. Okay, I'm going to give you a little tip now. Have a sponsor that covers the cost of the photo, and have a photo service produce that photo with the sponsor's logo in the photo. Don't have them put the sponsor's logo on a frame, because the player can then take the photo out of the frame, throw away the frame, and the sponsor loses that value. So what you want is a sponsor and a photo service at there. They can hand a photo that'll embed that sponsor's logo directly into the picture. So when they go home and put that picture, maybe it's with a celebrity or not, they put that picture in their own photo frame. That logo for that sponsor sits there for years and years and years. And so the sponsor gets extra value out of that sponsorship. That's a pretty easy sponsorship to sell if their sponsor's logo is embedded actually in the photo. Have a good banquet at the end. And by the way, it says, along with their spouse and significant other, this is an absolutely critical piece. And I'll tell you why. If someone is out playing a golf for the day, they're feeling a little guilty about it if their spouse is at home with care of the kids and cleaning the house or whatever they're doing, at work or whatever it might be that their spouse is doing. And so at the end of the round, that golfer feels compelled to throw their clubs in the trunk of their car and take off and go home. Well, you know what? Golfers that leave before the banquet are not going to make you any money at the banquet. So what you want to do is have a compelling reason for that golfer to stay late. And that means inviting the spouse or significant other. It's well worth it to pay a little bit extra for an extra meal and let that significant other come to the banquet. It also will help you when it's time to sell auction items in your live auction, because if you have some high ticket dollar items in your live auction, it's a little hard for one person to make a decision that two people are going to benefit from. Like you've got a trip to Bali, you got a golf outing, at St. Andrews, you got golf at a private country club with dinner or something like that, or maybe a trip to Mexico, whatever you might have in that live auction. It's hard for that golfer to be there making that singular decision when, if their spouse is sitting next to them, they can look at each other and say, "Hey, what do you think? Should we bid on this trip to Mexico?" So you'll make money not only by keeping the golfers there at the end of the day, you'll also make money by having a better decision-making process when it's time to sell things in the live auction. And then you want to give these golfers a chance to win something special, like a car. It's not that hard to do. There are car dealerships, motorcycle dealerships, boat dealerships. If they would just agree to pay the insurance on the chance of winning a car, then you can place a car on that hole, like a par 3 hole, or a chance to win a car, that motorcycle or the boat. Typically, the cost to the dealer that's supplying it is nominal. A $25,000 car, as an example, might have an insurance cost of $800 to $1,000. So if you can get that dealership to cover that $800 to $1,000 insurance, if someone wins the car, the dealership is thrilled. They want someone to win the car because they now get a chance to sell the car to the insurance company at $25,000. So it's a win-win for the dealership. They get the exposure of having the car out there, which is great advertising for them, and at a nominal cost of, say, $800 to $1,000 for the insurance. And if someone actually wins the car, now they've got a publicity. Now they can do press releases. They can put on their social media and so forth that, oh, somebody won one of our cars or won our boat or our motorcycle at the local golf tournament. So it should be a no-brainer for any car dealership, motorcycle dealership, or boat dealership. And then main thing is at the end of the day, you want them to leave saying, it was worth it. It was worth it. It got good value for their money. Okay, move on. So mistake number 2, not having enough sponsors. I see this all the time at golf tournaments. Go ahead, next slide. What'll happen is golf tournament committees will spend a lot of time trying to invite individual golfers to play in their tournament. And the problem with getting individual golfers to play in the tournament is you can't make any money at it. We'll just use it for sake of discussion. You'll see this on the next slide, but we'll leave it on this slide for now. But on the next slide, you'll see it. Is that if your golf course is going to charge you $125 for that golfer to play golf, that's your cost going in with the cart and everything else. You would need to charge $200 or $250 to make some money out of that golfer. But the most you can make is $100 to $150, $125 for that golfer to play golf there. Well, if you multiply that times a full field of 144, you're really not making a lot of money. On the other hand, if you can get sponsors to buy the foursome, you can charge the foursome a heck of a lot more than $250 a player, and you can also fill your field easier. So your whole tee, fairway, green spots, you got 18 of those, 18 fairways, you've got a bag drop, you got a driving range, clubhouse, so forth. So all of these can be sponsored, and every one of these that gets sponsored is also relative to a foursome in your tournament, which means you won't have to sell very many individual spots. So let's go to the next slide. I'll show you how that works out. So you can look at a sponsor, like a sponsor with 4 golfers, $2,500, cost per player $125, profit of $2,000 on that foursome. Look at an individual player down below, $250, cost, you only make $125 per individual player. So clearly the sponsorship, and maybe you can't get $2,500 for the sponsor. Maybe you can only get $1,500 for the sponsor. Well, even at $1,500, you're going to make $1,000 on that, you see? So, and it's easier for a sponsor to pay $1,500 to entertain clients or to entertain employees that have done a particularly good job or something like that, because a company can write a check for $1,500 to $2,500 relatively easily if they're going to get either advertising benefit out of that, or they're going to get philanthropic benefit out of that. And that's up to those individual companies. Most companies have a philanthropic budget. Most companies have an advertising budget. So they can take that $1,500 to $2,500 out of either one of those two budgets. Now, what do they get as a bonus? They get to go entertain 3 or 4 good customers, or entertain 3 or 4 employees for their excellent work. And your profitability goes up dramatically, because if you're making $1,000 to $2,000 per foursome and you've got 18 foursomes, well, that's $18,000 to $36,000, which is a lot more money than if you individually sold those playing spots at $250. Okay, so there you go. Let's go on to the next one. So limiting potential revenue from free golfers. Now, so here's a kind of a dirty little secret. You're going to make a lot more money from people that are playing for free than people that paid to play. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but let me explain why. If someone pays $250 to play in your tournament and they know it's $125 value, they feel they've already made a donation. They've already paid you $125 as a donation. They're less likely to be active bidders in your live auction. They're best likely to buy all the doodads, right? But if someone is playing for free because a sponsor hosted a foursome, that golfer feels very blessed. They go, wow, I'm getting to play this beautiful golf course and I didn't pay anything. I better give back. So how do they give back? They give back by buying the mulligans. They give back by buying the entry in all the contests. They give back by bidding in the silent auction. They give back in the live auction. They give back by raising their paddle. They give back in all these multiple ways, because after all, they got to play for free. They might as well give back And also because they're being hosted, they're being watched by the person that hosted them, right? The person that put them into the tournament is watching how they're showing their appreciation for being in the tournament. I hope that makes sense. So if the boss is inviting me to play with him or her in the tournament, or the supplier has invited me to be one of his blessed customers to play in the tournament, they're monitoring my activity that day. And I'm going to either make a good impression or I'm not going to make a good impression based on how generous I am throughout the day. So you typically will make more money from a free golfer than you will from a paid golfer. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but trust me. So how do we engage these people? How do we let them give us more money? Well, let's talk about some of that ways. Let's go on to the next. So this is by giving them ways to give you money, and this is not leaving money on the table. This is mistake number 4. Offer these free golfers and the paid golfers a chance to give you more money. So let's talk with the tournament itself. Within a tournament, and by the way, if you have questions, please fire them into the Q&A. We are going to answer every one of your questions. If we have too many questions to answer during the webinar, I will personally reach out to you and send you a response. Okay, we're going to get through all the questions, so go ahead and fire away and put them in there. I wanted to make sure you do that. Quick aside, by the way, on my screen, if you're seeing me on here, you see it says "Driven by Cause." That's a podcast that I co-host with the president of Arriva. And we have done quite a number of podcasts called Driven by Cause. If you would like to uh, listen to any of our Driven by Causes, they're all archived for you. You can go to our Arriva website, or you can go to Spotify or to the Apple Podcasts area, and we're listed in Spotify and Apple as well as on our website, and you can listen to any of our podcasts. Okay, so let's talk about the super ticket for just a second. The super ticket combines all the ways during the day you like to make money at your golf tournament. So I show up as a golfer, and typically, what does a golf tournament want to do? Hey, would you like to buy some mulligans? Yeah, I'll buy some mulligans. Oh, we have a long drive contest today. Okay, I want to get in the long drive. Oh, we have a putting contest. Oh, we have a putting contest. I want to get in the putting contest. Oh, by the way, we're having a raffle. Okay, great. I'll buy some raffle tickets. Oh, we're doing all. We got close to the pin thing. Oh, I'll do that. Oh, we have a chance to win a card. Oh, that's great. I want to get in that. So throughout the day, you're sort of nickel and diming that golfer by asking that golfer to participate in all these different things: mulligans, raffle, long drive, accuracy drive, closest to the pin, putting contest. It's all built in there. Well, drink tickets, it's all part of what you do. Well, what I strongly recommend you do is add a value, put a value on each of those. $20 on the mulligans, $10 for the long drive, $10 for the closest to the pin, $10 for the putting contest. Add it all together, and then sell that as a package called a super ticket. So you're going to give people, as an example, and it's on the screen, we're giving an example, we're giving you a $150 value by putting you into everything you could possibly do today. It's all rolled into one bucket. And that bucket is called a super ticket. And by the way, we're going to give you a discount. Instead of being nickel and dimed all day for $150, if you buy it all now on the super ticket, it's $100. And by the way, it can be sponsored. You can have a sponsor be the super ticket sponsor, spend $1,000, $1,500 to have your logo on those super tickets. So when people buy the super ticket, they're looking at that sponsor's message on there as well. I will tell you this, that because if you fill your field mostly with free golfers, meaning that you've done a really good job of selling sponsorships to create your foursomes, those free golfers that are sitting in those foursomes are almost to a person will buy a super ticket, because that's their way of showing their host that they're not here to play golf necessarily. They're here to support the cause that the host has agreed to support. And okay, I'm getting to play this beautiful golf course. I'm going to have a nice day. I'm going to be entertained. I've got food and all these things going on. What the heck? I'll give you $100. So you will probably sell a super ticket to just about every golfer. Well, if you have a full field of 144 golfers and they all buy a super ticket $100, you've made $14,000 on selling super tickets, right? So that's how the math works out on that. I think I did the math right on that. So, I do math in my head. Can you tell? Anyway, someone can put in no, Jay, you added it up wrong, but I think it's 14,000. Anyway, the point is that you will pretty much sell a super ticket to every golfer if you bundle them all together under one ticket. And this is how the free golfers start to pay it back. This is how they pay it forward. I got to play for free. I got to have a wonderful day outing. Guess what? I'm going to show my sponsor, I'm going to show my host, my foursome host, that I appreciate what they've done for me. Here's $100 for a super ticket. Okay. And that's you start pulling the money back. All right, let's go on to the next one.
Jay, before we move on, there was a great question about super tickets that I thought we should cover
Uh-huh.
right now. This is from Katrina. She wants to know, we currently include all of the contests, games, mulligans, etc. in our ticket fee for every player, which is $325. And we've done it that way for years. Do you think we should separate it out to make more or do something else?
Well, the key there was a $325. It sounds to me like they're already upcharging to include the super ticket. In other words, I guess it would really boil down to, what does it cost per golfer to play that course? If it's at a very exclusive private club and it's $200 a golfer or $250 a golfer to play that course for the tournament, and you're upcharging it to 325, then maybe it makes sense to also sell the super tickets. If, on the other hand, it's $150 to play that course and you're charging 325, you sort of already charge them for the super ticket. Does that make sense? So it's the differential between what it costs you per player to play there and what you're charging. If it's a wide gap between what it costs and what you're charging, you're in effect including the super ticket with the basic. If it's not much of an upcharge, if it's $125, $150 a golfer to play and you're only charging 175 or 200, then there's not enough differential there to include the super ticket. There you do want to add the super ticket as a separate item. I'd also would tell you that if you're going to have 2 or 3 opportunities on the course for people to win a car or a boat, those should not be free entries. You should make that part of the super ticket. If you buy a super ticket, then you have a chance to win a car. If you get a hole in one and you did not buy a super ticket, we're going to give you a $5,000 consolation prize instead of the $25,000 car. In other words, you want it to be an incentive. If you're going to have a high ticket item you can win with a hole in one, you want that to be an incentive to buy a super ticket. If you're saying, I don't want to buy a super ticket, well, okay, well, good luck. I hope you don't get a hole in one. Or if you do get a hole in one, then you're going to win $5,000. You're not going to win the $25,000 car. Oh, well, in that case, I'll buy a super ticket. So there ought to be some incentive for buying the super ticket, and the hole in one opportunities for the car or the boat or the motorcycle is a good way to push the super tickets where people may be on the edge. Okay, great question. Thank you. All right, not including an 18-hole auction on the court. Okay, so let's talk about silent auctions. The problem with doing a silent auction during your golf tournament is, in most cases, it's after the round of golf. Now, the golfers have shown up at 9 o'clock in the morning. They're practicing, they're checking in. Now it's 10 o'clock, and now they're getting ready. And they finally have the 11 o'clock shotgun. Now they're out there on the course, and they get done playing their 5-hour round at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Now you want to put them into a silent auction where they're going to be hanging out for 45 minutes or an hour for the banquet just to bid in the silent auction. And they're going to be antsy and they're not going to want to do that. And you're going to lose golfers, are going to get in their car and they're going to go home. So the answer to not doing the silent auction after the round of golf is to do the silent auction during the round of golf. And it's very easy to do. We call it the 18-hole auction. This is very easy, very simple to do. You put the items on display. So at check-in, the golfers can look at the items. They can register their phone to bid. And then throughout the 5 hours or 4.5 hour round, they can be bidding on the auction items on their phone, because they're going to be in and out of their cart all day. And while they're in and out of their cart all day, guess what they're going to be doing? They're going to be checking their phone, because these are business people and they're going to be wanting to know if they got any messages. So while they're checking their messages, they can also check to see if they've been outbid, because a mobile bidding system will text them and let them know if they've been outbid. So they place a bid at, they're on their first hole out, they place a bid on a couple of items. Maybe 2 or 3 holes later, they check their messages. Oh, I got a message. They click on the message. Says, oh, I just got outbid on those set of golf clubs. I'll bid again. Now 2 or 3 holes later, they got another message. Oh, I got outbid on the golf clubs again. I'll bid again. So during the 4.5 to 5 hour round, you're conducting your silent auction. And now when the round is over, they come in, they turn in the last scorecard gets turned in, and 15 minutes later, you're into the banquet. You don't have to provide a 45-minute or hour window for silent auction because you've already done it during the round. Now, where do you get some of the items? If you're wise about this, you let the hole sponsors provide an auction item on the hole that sponsor has sponsored. So if I'm a sponsor, if Ariva is a sponsor of the 5th hole, then we as Ariva provide item number 5 in your silent auction because we're hole number 5. And so that becomes advertising space on the golfer's phone, because we can include an Ariva logo with the golf clubs that are going to be tied to hole number 5. So every time a golfer looks at those golf clubs that were donated by Ariva on hole number 5, they're also looking at an Ariva logo with that item. So your golfers now are getting a lot of eyeballs, if you will, on the sponsors' logos that sponsor the 18 holes and sponsor those 18 items. So that's how you can augment your silent auction and get those items for you. And now here's a bonus tip. Because some golfers are phenomenally great golfers and some golfers are pure duffers, a great equalizer is to let a golfer deduct a stroke from their score if they bid on an item on a given hole. So my team, let's say on hole number 5, scores a 4, but we placed a bid on item number 5. So collectively, since our team placed a bid on item number 5, we get to deduct 1 stroke, and instead of a 4, we got a 3 on that hole. And now we're tying in the bid activity into your scoring system. And this is a great way of equalizing your field so that the normal folks that always win the tournament aren't necessarily going to win the tournament unless those, hotshot golfers also decide to be generous and bid on the items. Okay. So there's a little trick for you. And then a bonus tip, you can offer a sponsor prize at the banquet for the sponsor whose item or items sold for the most money. So now you're including the sponsors in your bid activity and including your sponsors as a chance to win a prize. Now the sponsors have an incentive to provide a better item because they'd like to win the sponsor's prize. So there you go. That's a lot. I've thrown a lot out there, but trust me, the 18-hole auction works like magic. And a short mini commercial. Our particular system is called text to bid. What makes it really work is there's no Wi-Fi required to bid. They only require cell service. So as long as your golfers are on a course that has cell service, they can bid by text. They don't have to be connected to Wi-Fi to be able to make the silent auction work. Okay, let's go to the next one. So excluding revenue boosters from your golf tournament. Let's move on. What do you mean by excluding? Well, let's talk about that a little bit. What are some of the revenue boosters? Well, a great revenue booster is called Cheat for Charity. It's really simple. Long par 5, for $20 a foursome, you don't have to tee off at the 525-yard tee box. You pay $20, and it can be, by the way, it can be built right into your super ticket. You get to move up to the 150-yard marker. So now you are teeing on the par 5, you're teeing off from 150 yards from the green. Well, here's a nice little secret. Because it's being offered, most of the foursomes will assume that all the other foursomes are going to do it. Therefore, they better do it too. Otherwise, they have no chance of winning, because there's going to be some teams that are going to be getting a 2 or a 3 on a par 5. And if we tee off from the 500 yards out, there's no chance in heck we're going to get a 2 or a 3. So pretty much all the teams will say, okay, let's move up to the 150-yard marker. And guess what? You made $20 per team, 20 times 18 teams, and do that math, and that's $3,600, I think, or something like that. Okay, so again, math in my head. So now let's go to long drive bad, accuracy drive good. Let's talk about that. What does that mean? Most golf tournaments will do what we call a long drive contest. Well, the problem with the long drive contest is that there's only a handful of golfers that are going to win a long drive contest. tournaments are open to everybody, and of every possible uh, capability. The golfers that are the really good low handicap golfers are going to always win the long drive. And most of the golfers are going to not ever get a chance to do it because they can't hit a 300-yard drive. But instead of doing a long drive, maybe instead you do an accuracy drive. Oh, how does that work? Well, you have the golf course run a line down the middle of the course or down a long par five, like you're looking at here. And now it's no longer how far did the ball go, it's how close did the ball come to the line. And so now every golfer in your tournament has a chance to win the accuracy drive because it's really who hits it the straightest, not who hits it the furthest. And that will encourage more golfers to buy in to the accuracy drive. They may not opt in to the long drive, but they will definitely opt into the accuracy drive. Okay. Helicopter, crane, and drone drop. This is kind of fun. It's a raffle. You sell golf balls, during the check-in area, and you put them all in a big bucket or basket, whatever, and you raise them up on a crane. Or if you really have a lot of fun, I've seen tournaments that do it with a helicopter. That's sponsored, of course, because it costs a lot of money to have a helicopter come in. But they pick up the bucket and they hover over the driving range, and there's a flag in the driving range designated as a target, and they drop the balls, and all the balls scatter in 1,000 different directions, and the ball that's closest to the target wins a great prize. And the buy-in might be a $25 per ball or something like that, with a great prize. I've seen it done with drones before. There's a lot of different ways. There's a wide variety. If ask me for some others, I can give you a dozen different ways to do this. But it's kind of a fun raffle. That's essentially, hey, how close do I think my ball's going to be to the target? Win, place, and show and bucket raffles. Win, place, and show. I'll cover that really quickly. You list all of the different teams ahead of time, and you let the golfers buy raffle tickets on the team that they think is going to win the tournament. So you've got 18 teams, or 36 teams. You can have 36 teams, of course, if you're doing A and B tee spots. And you look around and say, well, I think team number 7, I think the people teeing off on hole 7A, they look like pretty hot golfers. So I'm going to buy a raffle ticket for that, and I can buy win, place, and show. And then when the scoring comes in, you basically have prizes for the golfers, or sorry, the people that bought the raffle ticket for the 3 teams that came in, win, place, and show. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of it's a little variation on a horse race. And then bucket raffles, of course, that's where you have hats or buckets or whatever, and you sell raffle tickets and they drop it in the bucket for whatever item they'd like to win. And then casino hall, you want to be careful in the casino hall. You don't want it to be one of these things where it takes a lot of time to explain. Essentially, you just say, hit your ball, and if it ends up in the circle on the green, you're in a drawing at the end. Every ball that goes inside the circle is in the drawing, and maybe over the course of the round, 25 golfers ended up hitting a shot onto the green and ended up in the circle. Now they've got a 1 in 25 chance of winning a raffle prize. Let's go on to the next one. Relying on Wi-Fi defense technology. We won't spend a lot of time on this, but I'll just tell you really quickly that a check-in is the first impression of the golfer when they come to the tournament. How long does it take for them to get through the check-in line and start practicing, going to the range, going to the putting green, whatever it is that they're going to be doing there, having breakfast, whatever it is, their first impression is that check-in. And we're kind of proud of our software. We have a check-in utility in our software that requires no Wi-Fi whatsoever to check people in at the event. It's very, very quick. Our database is held locally on a local computer. Our check-in computers are all designed to store and forward a credit card. So when people show up, we'll say, Mr. Jones, would you like to leave a credit card on file today for anything you might buy, like our super tickets or souvenirs or whatever else? If you come to the auction tonight, and we swipe the card literally as they check in, it goes into a store and forward encrypted file. And when the event is all over, we upload that encrypted file and charge the credit cards at that time. But literally in real time, while they're standing in front of the check-in folks they don't have to have internet connectivity. And that's a really big deal for a golf tournament, especially for a golf tournament, because golf tournaments are at golf courses, and golf courses are notoriously terrible places to have Wi-Fi available just because they're not set up for that. They're not banquet facilities. Okay, there we go. Next.
And Jay, just to mention, I think our software, correct me if I'm wrong, is one of the only ones in the industry that does offer no Wi-Fi reliant technology, which
Wi-Fi
is something
less
rare.
technology. Yeah,
Wi-Fi less, yes.
Wi-Fi less technology. You eventually do use the Wi-Fi when you're ready to upload the credit cards, and you also would use the Wi-Fi, when you're registering people to come to the event on the website, things like that. You're going to have we use the cloud for sure. We use the cloud pre-event, and we'll also use connectivity post-event. But during the event, that's not a time to be held captive by sketchy Wi-Fi. So we just ignore it. We just bypass it completely. Okay. All right. Ending your day too soon. So let's talk about that. Uh, when golf is over, the day should not be over. When the golf is over, this is where you start to make money from those people that are playing for free, and also everybody else. So you really need an auction. You must have an auction. The biggest problem with having a silent auction, as I've mentioned before, is that it takes time. But if you've done your silent auction during the 18-hole round, you could wrap up your silent auction when the last scorecard comes in, close the silent auction 15 minutes later, give everybody a best and final chance to put in their final bids, and then move right into the banquet. And then give them a really nice post-tournament lunch or dinner and have a live auction. A live auction, I will tell you, is a must. And here's why. The live auction is the life support system for Raise the Paddle. If you don't do a live auction, it's difficult to ask people that have been out there all day playing to now make a cash contribution to your mission. If you do a 3, 4, 5, 6 item live auction, doesn't take very long. Typically, if you have a good benefit auctioneer, an item is sold every 3 minutes. So 6 items is what, 12 minutes. It's not a lot of 6 items would be 18 minutes. I'm sorry, 18 minutes. For 6 items, 5 items would be 15 minutes. So it doesn't take a long time, and that can be done while the people are eating. The live auction is best done while people eat. So get them through the buffet or sit down, serve whatever it is, but while people are eating, that's dead time. Turn that dead time into a live auction time and sell 5 or 6 items, because that's now going to set up a chance to do an emotional appeal. Now someone from your organization can come talk to those golfers and say, I hope you had a great time out there playing today. Remember, we're helping boys and girls have a positive place for kids, or Boys and Girls Club. We're helping cure cancer. We're doing positive research, or we're helping kids in foster care, whatever it might be, whatever the cause is. You can sell that mission and then ask those golfers to raise their paddle and make a donation of $2,500 or $1,000 or $500, $250, $100, $50, $25. And guess what? All those golfers that were there playing for free that day and are looking across that dinner table at the person that invited them are going to raise their paddle at some level. They're going to do it. And because you've got their credit card swiped at the beginning of the day, a good auctioneer can say, and ladies and gentlemen, because you were allowed us to put a credit card on file when you checked in this morning, your act of generosity now means that you can just leave whenever you want. You don't have to worry about going to cashiering. Your generosity is rewarded by us not having a cashiering line. And so you can reassure them that if the only thing they do is put their paddle up at $100 or $250 or $1,000, whatever it might be, their card's already on file. They have no cashiering at the end of the day. So this is really where you can pull a lot of money out of your event. Your live auction, half dozen item live auction, Raise the Paddle, is absolutely worth thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars to your golf tournament. I would strongly encourage you to not bypass that opportunity. Also, you want to invite the spouses. I mentioned that before, but if you're going to include in your live auction some really nice items, you don't want to put that golfer on the spot of having to justify what he or she just did when they get home. You want that spouse to be there with them, making that as a joint decision, whether it's that dinner for 8 they bought or the trip away or whatever that special thing is. Make sure that's a joint decision. So If you need to add $25 to your ticket or $50 to your ticket to include a spouse ticket along with a banquet, by all means do it. It's also a chance to make sure that the golfer doesn't bail out early. We don't want that golfer leaving before the banquet simply because they're feeling a little guilty having been gone for 6 hours. We want them in the banquet room because if they're in the banquet room, they can bid, and if they're in the banquet room, they can raise their paddle. And then you can also invite non-golfing supporters. It's totally okay if you have the room. It's always dependent on how much room there is at the golf course. But if there's room, let friends of the organization come and just enjoy the banquet. Even if they're not the spouse of someone playing or the golfer themselves, they're just friends of the organization. Why not let them join? Because every bidder that's in the room, every additional person in the room drives the bids. It pumps the bids up. So an extra 10, 15, 25 people in the room that weren't related to the golfer, or they might just put their card up and bid. That drives the bids up, and that's where you make more money. And then always do your awards after the auction, not before. I know there's always a tendency, oh, well, at least these guys have been out all day, some want to leave. Let's go ahead and give them you don't have to give them their award before the money. Let them get the reward after you get the money. Okay. All right. So let's talk about barriers to bidding. There's a little secret of auctions that I always like to explain, and that is that we don't make money from the high bidder. That's a myth. We only collect it from the high bidder. We make the money from the second, third, fourth, and fifth place bidders because they make sure the high bidder pays appropriately. So the more people we can get bidding, the more money we're going to make. So often it's about removing barriers to bidding. So this relates not only to golf tournaments, this also relates to if you do a gala. If you're doing any sort of a traditional gala, down below barriers, these are things that will absolutely kill a silent auction. Poor lighting. People can't read the bid form or read the description. Now, by the way, if you're using mobile bidding, okay, the bid form is not an issue because the bid form is actually on the phone, right? It's mobile bidding. But if you're using traditional bid forms, poor lighting will absolutely kill that. Lack of space between the items. If the items are all crammed together, it's hard for the people, for their brains to differentiate with what they're looking at. So you want space between each item. No clear bid instructions. How do I bid? I'm trying to bid. What's going on? How do I do that? So, of course, having pre-printed bid steps on the form will do that. But also, again, if you're using mobile bidding, it's covered because it's on the phone if you're using mobile bidding. Requiring mental math. Let's not ask people to say, oh, it says minimum raise $50. It's a $273. The minimum raise is 50. So how much is 50 and 273? And they got to do that math in their head. You don't want them to have to do that. Make sure your bid form, if it's a paper bid form, has the bid steps pre-filled out on it. Make sure it's a nice large font because most of these people will not have their reading glasses with them. So you want to give them a nice, 16 to 18 to 20 point font to read the descriptions. Okay. So do that. You need an MC or a good benefit auctioneer to encourage people to bid. Having a distracting event. Don't have a silent auction in one room and some other entertainment or something going on in the other room. Again, this relates more to galas than it does golf tournaments. But I've seen this happen. You'll have the silent auction will be going on one side of the banquet room, and then the other side there's a band or the dancing going on or some other thing happening. So you're basically pulling people away. And by the way, another distracting event is a buffet set up where people are hovering over the food on one side of the room, and the silent auction is on the other side of the room. Well, guess where people are going to be? Would you rather be where the items are? Or would you rather be where the food is? Right. So that's a distracting item as well. And having not enough time to bid or maybe too much time to bid. We solved that with the 18-hole auction because they've got 5 hours to bid. That's more than enough time. If you pull people in at the end of the event to do a silent auction, you could probably only give them a half hour to 45 minutes. Otherwise, they're going to get real antsy and say, how come we're not eating dinner yet? So we solved that with the 18-hole. Room access, distracting food stations. I mentioned all that. So, okay, let's go on to the next one. And then finally, not using a professional benefit auctioneer. I know this is going to sound like a commercial for me. I don't mean it to be. We have a network of professional benefit auctioneers all over the country. We'd be more than happy to refer you to. Just contact us and we'll find you a good local benefit auctioneer in your neighborhood. But you want someone that is a professional because they can manage any size audience. The common mistake is getting the local celebrity disc jockey or the local celebrity radio host or TV news person, and they're terrific reading a script. That's what they're good at. They look at a teleprompter and they can absolutely tell you about that car wreck that happened earlier this morning or what the weather is going to be like tomorrow. But that's different than working a room. That's different than pulling energy out of the room and being entertaining and making sure that the people understand why they're there. A good benefit professional auctioneer will push your mission, will make sure everybody understands we're here for a good cause. And they can reward good behavior. They can thank people by name. They can make sure that they're entertaining. It's professional. They don't pick on bitter. I'm sure you've seen it before. Hopefully you haven't seen it often, but I personally have seen it where an auctioneer will browbeat somebody. Come on, sir, I know you can spend more money. I saw you drive up today, in that Mercedes. That's very bad. That's very unprofessional. You can't do that. But typically, a non-professional celebrity or volunteer auctioneer reverts to that sort of thing. The professional benefit auctioneers say, "Thank you so much. You're being very generous," and they encourage good behavior. And they'll really help you if with unscheduled disasters. When everything goes south because there's a power outage, or the sound system doesn't work properly, or someone has a heart attack in the room. Believe me, I've been there, done that. Way too many heart attacks in the room. But when things happen you weren't planning on, the professional benefit auctioneer will get you out of the jam. It's well worth the money to think professionally. And if you are serious about making money, by all means, let us guide you there. We will find you someone that will fit your event really, really well. Okay, so we've got about 10
Yes.
minutes left, and I am done with my part. We're going to turn it back over to Gabby for a few minutes.
Thanks, Jay. Yes, we have a lot of great questions that are coming in. We are going to get to your questions in a minute. One thing I do want to make sure why we have everyone here, I know we have a lot of people that have golf tournaments coming up. They mentioned a lot of different software solutions, professional benefit auctioneers. If you would like any more information on any of those technologies, services, event consultations like Jay has been, providing here with new ideas, we are happy to do that. That's part of one of the many things we offer here at Ariva. I'm just going to go through really quickly. For any of you who don't know who Ariva is, we've been in the industry for over 30 years. We've done over 40,000 live, silent, hybrid events. And really the challenges that we saw the industry facing were, different point solutions that don't communicate with each other. So it's really important when you're hosting your event that you have the perfect, the right software in place. But what do you do after your event with that data? Where are those donor informations going? We are the only solution in the industry that offers a completely integrated approach to your events, your online fundraising, your donor database, your campaigns, grants, volunteers, memberships, text-based donations, peer-to-peer fundraising, team fundraising, events, all in one solution, which is really great because you have this great event. What do you do with those donors after? So making sure that you properly steward them. We've been nationally vetted and approved by Ronald McDonald House Charities. I think we have about 85% of Ronald McDonald Houses in the world using our software to some capacity. Variety, the Boys and Girls Clubs, Meals and Wheels, Jewish Federations, St. Vincent de Paul's, Catholic Diocese, Tides Foundation, Healthcare Hospitality Network. All of these are vetted and approved. We have over 6,000 clients that are satisfied, that are increasing donor acquisition, retention, and engagement. And this is just a breakdown of all the different solutions we offer. So Jay spoke a little bit about the auction software today. That's just one small piece of our entire auction suite that can be purchased as a standalone, or if you're looking for that integrated option, we're the only ones that provide that, along with all these other services for online fundraising, donor management, as well as client services. But we will go ahead. If you'd like to learn more information, there is a poll up on the screen. So go ahead and just hit yes, and someone will be in touch with you. And we'll be happy to answer any questions you have if you're wanting to learn more as well too. All right, so let's go ahead and get into these questions because we have a lot of great questions here. Jay.
All right,
All
fire
right.
away.
And
What
if
do
we
you
do
get?
go a little bit over, we will, because we know we have 4 minutes. You're welcome to stay on. If not, you're going to receive a recorded copy of the session. So the questions will be answered in that recorded version, or Jay will reach out to you directly to answer your question. We promise that'll happen. All right. So Jay, here's first question. We struggle at times with check-in and not bogging the golfers down with things they don't need. Like we have name badges for when they come back to wear during the banquet portion of the event, because many of our golfers use our events as a networking session. However, sometimes the golfers seem to be annoyed by them and just want to head straight to the banquet. Any
Right.
thoughts on the name badges for the golfers?
100%. Yes. Thank you for asking that question. First of all, let me tell you that anything you give a golfer at check-in will never make its way to the banquet. It's going to end up in the trunk of their car. If you give them a tea bag, a tea prize bag, it's going to go in the trunk of the car. If you give them a bid number, it's going to go in the trunk of the car. If you give them a name badge, it's going to go in the trunk of the car. They're not going to carry it with them all day long. So here's a solution. Check them in, and then at the banquet, when they come off the golf course, they're going to come off the golf course 4 at a time, right? They don't all arrive 100 at once, 200 at once, because they straggle in because they have to play 18 holes, right? When they come off the 18th tee, have a volunteer at the 18th green. When they come off the 18th green, have a volunteer there with a table saying, hi, which group are you? Oh, okay. Are you Mr. Smith? You're Mr. Jones? You're Mr. Johnson? You're Miss Anderson? Here's your badge for your banquet. So you catch them literally as they leave the golf course. And now they have with them, because they're going to go directly from the 18th green, they're going to go from the 18th green into the banquet. So that's where you give it to them either there or at the front door of the banquet hall, either way. But give them things you want at the banquet. Don't give them things that you want at the banquet at 10 o'clock in the morning. That includes bid number too, by the way. If you do a live auction, you got to hand them a bid number, right? I'll guarantee you, if you hand them a bid number at 10 o'clock in the morning, it ain't gonna be anywhere near that banquet. It'll be in the golf cart, it will be in the trash, it'll be somewhere else. Okay, what else you got?
Going back to the auctioneer point, we were talking about professional benefit auctioneers. How are auctioneers paid? The percentage of the amount raised, a flat rate?
So I will tell you right now, AFP, Association of Fundraising Professionals, absolutely is dead set against paying anyone a percentage of what you raise. A good professional benefit auctioneer will almost always be a flat rate. It'll be it's like paying for the band. You hire a band, you pay a fee, right? You hire a magician to perform at your gala, you pay him a fee. The benefit auctioneer should be the same. It should not be a percentage, it should be flat rate. The flat rates can be anywhere on the low side, $1,500, on the high side, $8,000. It really depends on how much money you're trying to raise and the number of people in the room. But you're going to get that ahead of time. We're going to say, all right, we got a golf tournament. We're going to have 300 people in the room in the banquet afterwards with spouse, blah, blah, blah. And the auctioneer is going to say, yeah, my flat rate's $3,500 or my flat rate's $2,500, or kind of it's level of experience and geographical. In New York, you're going to pay more than you're going to pay in Oklahoma City, but it should always be flat rate. Did I answer the question?
Yes, thank you, Jay. Quick one about the software. Does your auction software integrate with Raiser's Edge and NXT?
And the answer is yes. We actually have the only auction management software that integrates with both Raiser's Edge NXT and Ariva's Exceed Further, which is another great option. If you are interested in Ariva's Exceed Further, please let us know that you'd like to take a look at demo of that. We'll certainly show it to you. But yeah, we are directly integrated, and it's a direct field to field integration. It's not an export input. It's not an export input. Import is a direct field to field mapping. So when the event is over, you just send it all over to your CRM. It'll save you hours and hours and hours with either Raiser's Edge or Exceed Further.
Okay. Jay. There's been a couple questions about super tickets. So people want to know, is it better to include the cost of that super ticket with all those benefits in the cost of playing, or is it better to have it be a separate cost at check-in? Some people mention that it might slow down check-in if you're selling extra things, and that was what they're already struggling with.
Right. Well, first of all, check-in should be very simple. It should be, what's your name? Swipe your card, send you to the next table. I mean, the check-in, they find them. The next table is where you're going to be handed whatever it is that needs to be handed. Like, for example, your scorecard, not your scorecard, but your cart assignment, your whole assignment, that is after the check-in. The check-in process is greet you by name. Glad you're here. Let's take a swipe of your card. Thank you very much. Go to the next table and give them your name, and they'll give you everything you need. So it's one step removed. At the next table is where they would buy their super tickets, or that even be the next step after that. But you don't want to have the first point of entry to do more than just greet them and move them along, because you want that line to always be moving. If you have to do too much at that initial point, hi, what's your name? Oh, here's your super ticket sale. Oh, would you like this? Would you like that? Oh, here's your bag. All of that slows down, and now the people that are behind are getting antsy, and it looks bad. So multiple people to greet, one thing only, welcome them. Yep, glad you're here. Swipe your card down here. They'll get you whatever you need to play. Okay. Now, as far as the including it, it really depends on how much over you're charging to play. If you're playing, if you're playing a really high-end golf course that people just can't ever get on no matter what, except in the golf tournament, and you're charging $250, $350 to play, it may be a little obnoxious to add another $100 on the super ticket. On the other hand, if people are playing your tournament for $150 or $200, well, charge them for the super ticket. So really, it's that delta between the value of how much over value are you paying, and if you're not paying much over value, then charge them for the super ticket. If you're already paying a whole bunch over, well, then go ahead and include the super ticket.
Great, Jay.
Yeah.
Another question while we're talking about that, someone mentioned that they have golfers who they don't want to put a credit card on file at the beginning.
Yeah.
How would you, deal with that? Any suggestions
Totally,
there?
totally fine. We make it optional. We strongly encourage it. We encourage it by saying, Mr. Smith, if you'll let us take a swipe of your credit card now, you'll be able to participate in everything throughout the day, including the banquet this evening and silent live auction, whatever you want to do. And you don't have to worry about a cashiering at the end of the night. When you're ready to go home, you just go ahead and go. And by the way, if you don't buy anything throughout the day, we just get rid of the card doesn't go anywhere anyway. And if they say, oh, I don't want to do it, say, okay, no problem. We'll put you in as no card given, which is also part of the software. And if you do end up something, you'll have to come to cashiering at the end of the evening. So we sort of sell the advantage, but it's not mandatory.
Great. Going back to the auction for a second, this person says that they run a golf tournament on a weekday, usually a Monday. Would you still recommend inviting spouses? What about kids?
So the answer is golf tournaments are almost always on a Monday or a Thursday. There are exceptions or outliers. Most golf courses will not shut down their course on a weekend, because that's when the members want to play there, right? Monday is typically a maintenance day, so for most golf courses, so they don't mind giving up a maintenance day to make money on it from a golf tournament. I would invite spouses regardless of the day of the week, because it's opt-in. It's their choice. Maybe a spouse that has no problem coming, and they can. And if they do have a problem, they get a babysitter. And if they can't get a babysitter, maybe the spouse doesn't come to the tournament. But at least make it an option. At least offer it. And you can also make the spouse ticket or the significant other ticket an option. So perhaps to get into the tournament, it's $250, but with a spouse ticket, it's $300. So you could always offer it as an option as opposed to included, and that would solve that. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Jay. Another question about the raise the paddle. How do you keep track of people in the moment who are raising their paddle?
Terrific question. Thanks for asking. Right out of our software, we produce a form that has all the denominations in it based on how you set it up. So if you're going to start at 2,500, there's a $2,500 column, there's a $1,500 column, $1,000 column, 500, 250, 150, whatever. And in each of those columns, those dollar values, as the auctioneer is saying, who'd like to help us out at the $2,500 level? 106, thank you. They write down 106. 1214, thank you. 167, thank you. And the recorders are just writing bid numbers vertically down that column. And then you shift to the next denomination down, the next denomination, so forth. So what you end up with is one tracking sheet that has all of the bid numbers that have said that I want to help at whatever denomination they said they wanted to help. What you don't do is random. You don't just say, okay, who wants to make a donation? Oh, okay, $500. Okay, $2,500. Okay, because then you can't keep track of all that. So the auctioneer has to guide that by saying, we're now going to ask at the $2,500 level. We're now going to ask at the 1,000. We're now going to ask at the 500. And then the recorders, the helpers, will just write the bid numbers vertically. That also gives you an audit report. Because now what you have, if you have 2 or 3 recorders writing down the same numbers that the auctioneer is reading off, you can now take those 3 sheets, put them together, and the bid number will be in exactly the same location on all 3 sheets because they're all written down at the same time at the same denomination. You now have an audit trail, which is all you always want to do, things that have an audit trail. Okay, next.
And Jay, to your point there about having someone there recording those numbers, does the recorder come with an auctioneer or would that be a volunteer?
Those are volunteers, and the good auctioneer will train the volunteers on how they want them to do the job.
Awesome. Another thing, I know asking money can be hard, but this person wants to know, how do you deal with that social pressure during the raise the paddle? How should you be asking for money?
Well,
Pretty much.
the key to it is making sure you do a really good job of selling the mission. This should not feel like pressure. It should feel like, wow, I just heard a very compelling story. I just saw someone who was adopted that's now an adult that's a significant part of our community. Or I just heard of someone who is now cured, their cancer has been cured. But you always want to have a compelling mission talk, and then immediately follow that, ask for the donation. It's really the mission that you tee up is the sell, not the pressure. And it's optional. It's totally optional. But I will tell you this, that once people look around the room and say, well, that person's up at $500, I guess I'll do to it. You build momentum. And the reason we start high and go down is that as you go from the high number down, you pick up more and more. You may get one person at 2,500. You may get 2 at 1,500. Maybe you get 1 or 2 at 1,000. By the time you get to $250, you've got 6 or 7 people in the room. By the time you get to $100, you've got 20 people in the room. So you get momentum by going high to low, and it's really it's individual choice. And if the auctioneer does a good job of saying, by the way, your card's probably already on file, no cashiering line, that's our gift back to you. Just be generous. It works.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay. This is a question from Heather. From her question, I'm assuming that her auction after the day of golfing has tables of 8. So she's saying that she seats, 2 foursomes at a table of 8. But she
Right.
wants to know, how do you deal with your seating chart when maybe someone in the foursome brings a spouse and others don't? How would you coordinate a seating chart there?
Well, hopefully that would be RSVP'd ahead of time as part of the registration for the golf tournament. I intend to bring my spouse so that you can set the table. You can put in the seating chart ahead of time. If it's open seating, it's open seating. You go find a table. But if you're going to have assigned tables, then you should know who's coming, and you should know, is it just the golfers or is it the golfers plus spouses? If it's golfers plus spouses, it's 8 people. If it's golfers without spouses, it's 4 people. You put 2 foursomes together. But that should be part of the RSVP process.
Got it. And going back to auctions, what kind of items are best sold in a live auction?
The best thing in any live auction, whether it's a golf tournament or otherwise, are things that cause people to give money, not feel like they're buying something. This should be about giving money to the cause and being rewarded with a lovely parting gift. So live auction items that are best are items that are broadly appealing, so that it's not 1 or 2 people in the room bidding, but 8, 9, 10 people in the room bidding. I like to start a live auction with something tangible, emotional, broadly appealing, and low dollar value. Because if it's tangible, it can be walked around the room. If it's emotional, people bid with their heart instead of their brain. If it's low dollar value, most people in the room can afford it. And if it's broadly appealing, you get a lot of cards up. So that builds your momentum. Then you ramp the values up. So things that sell well are experiences, dinners, weekend getaways, golf outings, obviously golf equipment. I'll call them bragging rights, a chance to go play golf with a celebrity. If you have a professional team in your neighborhood, in your city, and you can get one of the well-known players to host a round of golf at their private country club, it's worth big bucks. And you got a room full of golfers. Who's going to bid on that? Somebody that wants to impress their friends and invite 2 of their friends to go play golf with that celebrity. So what doesn't sell well are things that are very narrow, and typically not hard goods, unless it's something like golf equipment, or maybe it's an assortment of wine or something like that. Those would sell well. But experiences almost always sell well. Things for children will sell well because parents like to buy things for their kids or grandkids or whatever.
Jay, going back to the 18-hole auction, you mentioned a point on the slide of if someone bids on an item on a hole, they can have an option to, take a stroke off of their, total count.
Right.
Um, this person wants to know for the strokes, how do you manage that? And
Well,
what if
you
a player makes multiple bids back and forth on one item on one hole? Do they
yeah,
receive multiple strokes off?
well, first of all, in the rules, you're very clear on the rules that there's a maximum to how many strokes can be taken off. So you have to decide ahead of time, do we want to let each team take off a maximum of 4 strokes or a maximum of 2 strokes or a maximum, that's decided in the rules. So yeah, when they place a bid, they get to take a stroke off. But it's on that, they bid on that item. It's not how many times they bid on that item. So if they bid on item number 5, which is, let's say, sponsored by the Arriva company, is sponsored hole number 5. So we've donated, the irons, the golf irons. And so they bid on our irons. Well, that one bid gets them that one stroke. If they bid on the irons 3 more times, it's still one stroke. Okay. If they bid on 10 items, then that's limited by how many strokes are the maximum you could take off for bidding on the items. So that's set in the rules up to 4 strokes or up to 3 strokes or something like that. And that's easily managed because in the dashboard, the text to bid mobile bidding dashboard, we have a bid history, and we can go into the bid history and we can see all the people that placed a bid and compare that to whatever foursome they're in. So that's a pretty easy management.
Got it. And on that 18-hole auction, there's someone here who they've done this before, and the feedback from the golfers was that they just wanted to focus on golf and they weren't checking the online bidding. They then extended it to have the silent auction go into the event after the day of golfing. But they found that when golfers came back, it wasn't easy to get them into the silent auction and get them interested in that. Do you have any suggestions for getting them involved in the silent auction after the day of golf?
Well, the big thing is make sure that all the items are on display at check-in, so that during that hour or so when they're, getting their breakfast and they're doing their putting and they're driving and all that they're all on display before they tee off. So they're starting to bond with those items a little bit. You also, with the hole sponsors could also put items out on the holes if they wanted to. The ones that are going to donate items out on the holes, they can have the items physically on the hole. So as the golfers come through in their golf cart and they're going to play that 5th hole or that 10th hole or whatever, they're physically looking at the item while they're waiting to tee off on that particular hole. So that also encourages them to bid through the round. And then you give them an extra half hour before, into the banquet. The nice thing about bidding on mobile bidding as part of a golf tournament is you don't have to end the silent before you start the dinner, because you can have the silent auction continuing into the dinner, and you can have your auctioneer or MC encourage people, say, hey, by the way, we're going to close our silent auction in 10 more minutes. They may already be sitting down eating dinner. They're already having their drink. They're with their friends. The silent auction's still on their phone, and their cell phone's going to still be next to them during dinner, right? So they just encourage that. But the key is avoid the hour block of time just for the purpose of the silent auction. Get them started bidding early, get them bidding often, and then give them time when the round is over to wrap up their bids, and remind them with the MC that the bidding is closing in 10 minutes, it's closing in 5 minutes, say it's going to close in 3 minutes, whatever. And they'll be in there, they'll be bidding.
Awesome. When speaking about the crane drop, the helicopter drop, someone asked you, isn't getting a crane on the course expensive and requires a lot of different insurance policies?
It's a donation by a crane company. Because they get the visibility. They come out there, and it doesn't have to be a huge. This is one of these little smaller. This is not a giant crane. We're not talking about something that's building skyscrapers. This is one of those backyard kind of things that you use to put up the Christmas lights or kind of thing from a local rental company or something, and they become the sponsor, like Sunbelt or something along those lines. They become the sponsor of that, and then they extend it up and they drop the bucket. That's just an idea. It doesn't have to be that way. It's just it's It's been done, but it's usually the crane company that's a sponsor because they get to hang their signage underneath the crane, right? So people look at it all day long and they go, "What's that for?" Well, that's going to be the ball drop later on. There's another way you can do it. Also, is you can have everybody buy the ball and then gather around the putting green, the practice putting green, with their ball. And on the count of three, they all putt their ball towards the target. They can have the target right in the middle of the putting green. And so you could have your 50 or 75 or 100 golfers circling the putting green with the ball they bought. And the pro or whoever the MC says, on the count of three, we want you to putt your ball towards the target. And all of a sudden you got all these balls coming towards the target all at once. It's a lot of fun, but that would bypass the need for a crane or a drone or whatever. It becomes the same thing. It's who gets the ball closest to the target. Yeah.
Thanks, Jay. And then you mentioned, a consolation prize of something like $5,000. Who would, pay for that consolation prize? Where
That's
does it come
always,
from?
yeah, typically that's part of the insurance. When you buy, there's National Hole in One, there's Hole in One USA, there's numerous hole in one insurance companies that are out there. So when the car dealer buys the insurance, typically the insurance company will include a consolation prize along with the insurance. So if someone gets the hole in one and they bought in, they win the car. If they didn't buy in, they get the consolation prize. But that's all wrapped up into the insurance purchase.
Got it.
And
We have, oh,
I can help guide you with insurance. If you need more help on that, I can help connect you to some insurance companies on that.
and then one more question about just the seating arrangements. So let's say you have a table of 8 and there's a foursome and one person brings a spouse. For just like seating purposes, are you splitting up foursomes if a spouse comes to make tables work?
Was the
What would you
spouse
suggest?
surprised, or was a spouse a surprise, or we know that ahead of time?
Well, I guess you would know that ahead of time.
And that's, you just plan accordingly, because there will be some people. You can also ask, are you attending the banquet? You can also ask that as part of the RSVP. Will you be attending the banquet? Because some golfers just aren't going to. Ask them up front. Ask them at registration. When they check in, they swipe the card, they go to the next spot. By the way, here's your tee prize and all that. Will you be coming to the banquet? And then yes or no. And now, if you have to make any last minute rearrangements of the tables, you can certainly do that.
Got it.
Mhm.
Um, we always felt that we didn't want people to have to be on their phones, get out their wallets again, etc. But I fear we are losing out on money, even though we offer an all-in ticket price. Do you think people are okay with continuously looking at their phones or offering to pay/donate for more things?
They're looking at their phones anyway, because it's a Monday, it's a business day for a lot of them. They're going to be checking their phones for messages anyway. So while they're looking there, if they see, oh, I got outbid on something, they're just clicking the button. They can bid again if they'd like. They don't have to do it. It's optional. Uh, but a lot of people will. If you have some nice silent auction prizes, there will be a high percentage of people that will bid on it. Some people don't want to. That's okay. It's always an opt-in, right? If you're just giving them one more way to do it, you're not requiring it.
Thanks, Jay. And do you recommend a raffle or silent auction if you already have a live auction? And if so, which one is better?
Yeah, I think raffles are great. There are different kinds of raffles. If you're going to have a raffle, the type of raffle is a choose your prize kind of raffle. So there's several different ways. A bucket raffle is a choose your prize raffle where you put your 5 or 10 or 15 items out that are out on a table, and you put a coffee can or a bucket or a hat or something in front, and people buy raffle tickets and drop them into a bucket based on which prize they would like to choose. You don't want them to have to make a decision after they won. In other words, you don't want to have a raffle where you've got 10 prizes and, oh, Joe, you won. And now he's got to come up and figure out which of the items does he want, because that just slows things down. So let them choose the prize when they drop the ticket in, not after they've become the winner. You could do a live auction raffle called a golden ticket raffle, where you can charge $50, let's say, and have a limited number of tickets. Just say, oh, we're only going to sell a maximum of 100 tickets at $50 a ticket. And you get to choose any one of the live auction items as your prize. And we draw that prize at the beginning of the live auction. That's called a golden ticket raffle. And so the only limitation there is they can only pick a prize up to the value of tickets sold. So if you sell 100 tickets at $50, they can pick any live auction item up to $5,000. The $8,000 trip, it would not be available to you.
Got it. And do you think it's beneficial to include door prizes in the super ticket? And if so, is that predetermined? So you allow people to not, choose a certain prize?
I would have no problem whatsoever that if one of the incentives for buying a super ticket was you also got entered into a door prize. And that door prize could be a round of golf for four at back at that same golf course, because the golf course can certainly donate that. That might be the incentive. You want to come play again? Buy a super ticket. We're going to draw one person. They're going to get to come back and play again.
And then you can like predetermine what those prizes are that they're allowed to,
Yeah.
win from, right?
Yep.
Um, we have new questions coming in. I know we're a little bit over, but I'll just finish up these last couple ones. How do you do mulligans and such without extending play?
Well, first is limit the number of mulligans. Don't let people buy as many mulligans as you want. Limit it to 2 mulligans. I prefer 2 mulligans per foursome, but if you need it limited to, if you want everybody to buy individual mulligans, maybe one mulligan per person then. So maximum of 4 mulligans per team. Don't let even though it's going to be attractive to say, well, if someone wants to buy 20 mulligans, let them. Look at all the money we're making. That's what really slows it down. You got to keep it. Remember, the golfers want to play real golf, and if the team in front of them is using 20 mulligans, it just slows things down. So 1 mulligan per golfer max. My preference would be 2 mulligans per team.
Got it. This person says we're a very small rural town with a 9-hole course. How does that change the format of the event?
Small town with what course?
9-hole, a 9-hole course.
Uh, you could do a 9-hole tournament, or you could do an 18-hole tournament, play the course twice.
Nice. And then how does a professional benefit auctioneer differ from a local auctioneer like a land, equipment, farm auctioneer, etc.?
The local auctioneer's job, the commercial auctioneer, go to school and they're highly trained and really good at liquidating things. Their job is to get rid of all the cows. Their job is to get rid of all the construction equipment. Their job is to get rid of everything in that storage locker. Their job is to get everything in that estate. It's about throughput. It's how fast can I sell this stuff and get enough money to make my client happy. Completely different than a benefit auctioneer. Benefit auctioneer's job is to maximize revenue and be entertaining and make the most money you possibly can. It's like it's the easiest way to describe it. A podiatrist and a pediatrician are both doctors, but they operate completely different, right? Commercial auctioneer, his job is to do a good job of getting rid of things. You do not want a commercial auctioneer liquidating your auction items.
Nice. And then last question, because we are over on time.
Yeah, let's do it.
But what are some artificial delays? You mentioned on that first slide of you want to limit artificial delays that can slow down your tournament. What would be some examples of those?
Putting a professional golfer out on the golf course to do your long drive for you, having having a local uh, college team there to do the putting for you, because it takes time for them to explain what they're going to do. It takes time for them to do it, and they'll always want a do-over, and it just jams everything up. So don't put people on the course whose job it is. Oh, and having like a hit. How far can you hit the marshmallow contest? I've seen that I think before. For $10, we're going to get you into a drawing, and we'll see how far you can hit a marshmallow. Those are all things that jam up the course.
Got
Okay.
it.
All
All
right.
right. Well, those were all the questions we had. I'm glad we got to get all those answered because we had a lot of great questions from the audience. Thank you, everyone, for attending our session today. You will receive a recorded copy of the actual webinar as well as a copy of the PowerPoint deck. So you can go back, share this with your team, review any of the information. Thank you so much, Jay. This was fantastic. It's really great. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
And make sure you join us on our next Ariva webinar. And if you want to download that golf guide, it is the ultimate golf fundraising guide. It has a lot more in here than what we covered today because there's a lot more we could talk about, but we had to limit it to an hour. That will be in the email following this webinar. So you'll have the option to download it there to get, more information so you can be prepared for your next golf tournament. And we hope to see you on our next Ariva webinar. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.